started this conversation with a political ideological statement from you about the importance of unions, completely irrelevant to media manipulation. You started your
irrelevant to media
absolutely. You started the argument from an ideological perspective.
A perspective about media.
Have you ever been in a union? Just side question.
Yeah.
Which one? When?
I was in a couple. I've been in the.
Which one?
I've been in the UFCW, and when I was working at Meyer in Michigan, and
accepted. I didn't believe you. I couldn't imagine, based on what you'd said, that'd been true. Because I've been in 2 unions. I was in the Transport Workers Union, and I worked at a grocery store as well, which also had a grocery workers union. And they were so corrupt that I was like, the statement you made is just like your perspective I can respect. That's coming from you, but it's like a blanket subjective perspective. But I don't want to have an argument.
Not at all subjective.
I don't want to have an argument about union.
However corrupt that union might have been that you were part of,
2 of them.
If you had been accused of an infraction, subject to disciplinary process, then you would have had the option of having them represent you in that process.
Wrong.
Okay.
Bro.
Okay, let's pause.
I don't want to get into an argument about unions, other than to say like.
Yeah, let's not slip into a debate here. You know, I mean, if we're not careful, there's going to be a debate that's going to break out about, you know, the sort of fundamental things we disagree about. What a strange thing that could happen in this debate. But 3 points about this. First, it is a shame he got me off it before I said that, you know, because I listed off the first union that I was ever part of, which was UFCW 1951 at Meyer, Michigan. But then the next thing I was going to say was that for 2 years, I was actually a elected low-level official in a union in New Jersey. In fact, a teachers union in New Jersey. The AAUP AFT branch for adjunct professors at Rutgers, right? So, which I'm actually still a member of now, right? But because I'll still teach online classes on and off at Rutgers. So yeah, I mean, I have been, I've spent years and years of my life as a union member, and included a couple of years as a union official. So that's just one thing worth saying. Second thing worth saying is he's just completely ignoring the connection that was drawn between those two subjects, right? I'd actually that morning, I'd even called the moderator, Bill Ottman, be like, well, okay, I want to be real clear. I want to make sure I'm really clear on the subject here, right? What are the things you're putting under the heading of media manipulation? What do you mean by that phrase? And one of the things they said, was social media manipulation, censorship, right? It's like, all right, well, look, if we're talking about censorship, then there's this connection that I just spelled out there in great detail, and I was damn well going to make that argument because this is the primary argument that I came to this debate to make, right? That James O'Keefe's union busted and his alleged commitment to free speech are incompatible. Third point, so I mean, he says oh, that's ideology, which is, ridiculous because, yeah, right. I'm not a journalist. I've never claimed to be a journalist at any point in my life, right? I'm an opinion columnist, right? That's not a journalist, right? I'm a political polemicist, right? That's what I do, right? To the extent that I do all this stuff and not just teach classes. They which by the way is also what Tim Pool is, right? Tim Pool's not a journalist.
They like calling themselves that, though. That was the whole thing.
Yeah, no, they love calling themselves that, right? I don't understand what they mean by it, to be honest, but
James O'Keefe kept comparing himself to Cy Hirsch. He compared himself to someone else.
Yeah,
who it was.
Well, the last point I want to make was just okay, on what basis does Tim Pool? Sorry, they're agreeing so much in here. I'm getting, I was getting my wires crossed. On what basis does Tim Pool believe that neither of those unions he was in? He says they're corrupt. I don't know what he means by corrupt. I don't know what the evidence is for the corruption. I don't know what kind. I don't know any of that stuff, right? Nobody does. He just used the word, and we're all supposed to take it at face value. But there are some very corrupt unions, right? They'll still provide a lot of protection against wrongful termination, right? I don't know what basis he has for believing that if he had been threatened with his job, right, that there wouldn't have been a union rep to guide him through the process, that he couldn't have filed a grievance, right? Was he actually fired from both of those jobs and neither of the unions helped him, even though he asked? If not, I don't know why he believes this. Did he know people who were fired? and they asked, but there was a union rep who would help them with that and file a grievance and all that stuff. To be honest, I doubt it, right? I think he's just making a flying leap from, well, they seem corrupt to me, to therefore, I'm sure they wouldn't have done this thing that, like, just legally, right? The structure of union representation is like, yeah, absolutely, they would have done to the best of their ability. But anyway, enough for me talking. We have an actual union organizer on the screen here. If Jake wanted to weigh in on any of this.
No, I mean, whether a union is corrupt, I mean, obviously that union corruption has, occurred before. I mean, I think it's always a little bit funny because comparing it to the prevalence of business corruption, I can't pull up a stat for that, but I think it's like, it's an organization, and organizations can have problems. So I would never say, I would be the last person as a leftist in the union movement to say that unions can't be better. But in terms of whether it's just ideological, you were pointing out an objective fact, which is that unions save people's jobs, right? Which is could objective, like, I've, met many people and met many like chief stewards, right, at different companies who save people's jobs probably every week or at least every month. So, the fact that unions have this role in society, you can debate how effective they are at it. But you can't debate that this is the role of a union in society, and that, thousands of people probably owe the existence or continued existence of their jobs to their union representation. So it's not, are unions good? Are unions corrupt? Are they a good force in society? That's ideological. But you were bringing up something that is, as close as objective as you can get. And, I think that he just he doesn't want to debate. He could debate that, yes, that is true, but actually, you can make the debate, oh, maybe they save too many people's jobs, or it's not competitive.
Which by the way, was James's argument, right? I mean, the point of James's video is that they save too many jobs. That can't be true if the function of a union isn't, among other things, to make it harder to terminate you, because it's like, I mean, that's probably not a great metaphor to throw around in a discussion where union corruption has come up, but it's like being a made man, right? They can still whack you. They just need to sit down in a good reason, right? It can't just be that, like, you're in the bar and you say something that, like, that the Joe Pesci character doesn't like, and, and he just, comes back and kills you, right? Like, it has to, you have to have a good reason. You have to go through a process. You have to show that you have just cause for termination, right? Yeah. Like, these things are actually just legal facts and certainly sociological facts about how union representation works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, to the point of free speech, which is that, as an at-will employee, you can be fired for your speech, right? Because you could basically be fired for anything except for something that's like a protected category, right? So this is just making sure that if you are fired, you're fired to something that, you and your coworkers bargain a contract with management that show that this means you are not doing the job, right? So you still have to do your job, but you don't have to worry about or at least as much about, like, tweeting something that your boss doesn't like, and and them firing you, like, or speaking up against Elon Musk and having him fire you. You know what I mean? Like, if they had a union. So it's a pretty ridiculous argument to make, and Tim Pool didn't even want to. Like you said, they're making both arguments at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Is it that they save too many jobs, or it's just not even true? It's ideological, right, to say that they save jobs.
I think they would say they only save people's jobs who didn't deserve it. But then, every single, they were just evil people that they're doing this for no reason. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I thought, you came out with such a generous and open overture there, Ben, to try and find some common ground with Tim Pool. You said, your life is a little bit more like waking up with Tim Pool. You're clearly trying to, forge some common ground, and no good deed goes unpunished. He just comes right after you with this business about it being ideological. The only thing that was ideological, I think, from his perspective, is that you actually think unions are a good thing, and somehow that's very ideological. You tried to show how in free speech terms, everyone on the panel should agree that, having, but I guess they actually do believe that the employer should have that authoritarian power and control. to just get rid of you at will. They're happy with that. They don't believe in democracy extending to the workplace. This is the real problem that they have. But I also think that it's clear that I didn't get to see this. Obviously, this is something that happened in New York, but I did get to see the posted video that Project Veritas put out of their ambush before the panel. And it seems clear that people on the panel, well, like Tim Pool and James O'Keefe, tried to do a little background work to figure out, how they might go at you, and noticed that you did some videos on them and were completely unprepared to actually take on the arguments you made. So they tried to manufacture other ways to sort of discount what you're saying. And in fact, actually, you gave them advance warning, really, of what you wanted to discuss, what you thought the key issues were. I mean, you didn't come into this debate and try and ambush them. You put it out there ahead of time, and they still weren't willing or able to actually confront you on the arguments that you actually make, criticizing their positions. I think that's really what was going on here, is just trying to discount the issues because they had nothing to really say about the actual issues, which is why all he can say, Tim Pool, is that unions are corrupt. I mean, I don't think he really actually had any real genuine experience of their corruption. That's just the stereotype of what you say to criticize unions, is you say they're corrupt. I mean, so that's why he couldn't actually respond to your point about what a union could do for you. He couldn't actually engage that. He just had to say, no, they didn't. No, they wouldn't, because he had to stick with this position that unions are bad without actually engaging the substance of what unions, actually do in the workplace.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, it's especially from Tim Pool, right? Because this is a guy who loves using corporate, right, as like, as a put down, right? It's like, well, okay, do you actually want to decrease the power of those corporations or not, right? That's I think that's a real like rubber meets the road issue there. And you're right on that. I mean, there's a reason, beyond the fact that, whatever, we thought it'd be a good show, right? There's a reason that we covered all this on Monday, right before the debate, that, like I wanted to, make as clear as possible in advance, right, what what my case is, because I wanted to steer as much of the debate as possible to talking about this, because I think this is the real stuff. I think you can I mean, I don't know what it would have been like if all this hadn't happened, right? But it's like, I was like imagining a version of the debate where we just spent the entire, debate arguing about, whether, I don't know, Twitter, and its mysterious algorithms were, more unfair to liberals or conservatives, or, whether whatever stupid little narrative they're pushing on Fox News this week is like a little bit more inaccurate or a little bit less inaccurate than whatever stupid little narrative they're pushing on MSNBC. And it's like, I don't care about that stuff at all, right? I mean, I think like every minute you spend talking about those things is like a minute you're never getting back. And, it's just a horrible waste of everybody's time, right? I mean, if I was going to talk about media manipulation, I want to talk about things that actually matter, right? Like, look, MSNBC is owned by Comcast. Fox News is owned by the Murdoch family. Little bits and pieces of Twitter are owned by, BlackRock and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and, a bunch of American rich people. That's like, and how can you counteract the power of those corporations? Well, organizing the working class. I mean, it's a pretty basic, for somebody like, for people like us, it's a pretty basic point. I mean, but this is the case I really want to make.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.